This episode of The Rookie Hunter is sponsored by North Arm Knives. North Arm Knives are handcrafted and sold directly through a father and son team right here in British Columbia. Choose from a selection of outdoor knives, kitchen knives, and the brand new folding knife from NorthArmKnives.com. They ship internationally and guarantee all their work. Callie and I use their products and give them our stamp of approval. Go to NorthArmKnives.com. Hey guys, welcome to episode 24 of The Rookie Hunter. Today on the show, Ryan Callahan is going to be joining us for a chat on Skype. Very excited about this conversation. If that name sounds familiar, you might know Ryan from First Light Hunting. You might have seen him on Meat Eater or heard him on the Meat Eater podcast. He's been on a bunch of other great hunting podcasts as well. And we're very, very grateful to have him on the show today. So big thank you to Ryan for taking the time to do this thing. Quick shout out to North Arm Knives. We really appreciate them coming on as a sponsor. This is the second episode that they're sponsoring. So please go to NorthArmKnives.com and treat yourself to something nice. You've earned it. But anyways, let's get into this conversation with Ryan Callahan. So you know what to do. Sit back, relax, crack a cold beer, and enjoy this episode of The Rookie Hunter. Mr. Molnar.
Howdy.
How you doing?
Pretty good. It's cold outside.
It's freezing. What is it, like minus 20 or something?
Minus 18.
Jesus.
20.
And this is Kelowna. It doesn't happen that often. We get a couple of cold snaps each year.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't get much last year, so this seems, I don't know, kind of rude.
Yeah. I mean, I'd be happy with, I like the snow.
Yeah.
But I'm not a fan of the temperatures. Kind of getting used to it. This is like the, third or fourth day that we've had this. It's an Arctic air coming in. Vancouver has had snow, almost more snow than us in some days.
They were getting it before us, actually, which is interesting.
Which is crazy. It was like -6 there today, too. So, I don't know. It's...
yeah, I honestly don't mind it, as long as you're dressed for it.
Yeah.
And we got a huge snowfall here. Another thing that we don't get a whole lot of, but the cold temperatures have kept it around, and it's nice, light, fluffy snow. Because often what happens here is we get a snowfall, and the next day it turns into slushy, disgusting mess. But it's quite nice, actually. So
definitely.
As for where we're at, we, as you heard in the last episode, we were going to do a bow hunt, but never made it out. We still got a bit of time, Cal.
Whitetail.
I can't remember when that ends, but I think we've got at least another week or something like that.
Do you think it's going to warm up?
I don't know. But I won't be sitting anywhere, that's for sure.
You know those insoles that I have with the little remote?
Yeah.
I hit the button and then my insoles heat up. I never use those, but this is the time of year where I'll drag those out.
Yeah.
Walking around with steaming shoes.
Mm-hmm. This is the first year. Well, we've only it's our third year out there, but I actually didn't hunt in any snow this year, except for when we were in the Kootenays.
Yeah, and that was just 1 or 2 days where it went super high, like alpine, 8,000 feet.
Mm-hmm. I know in the last year there was many days of trudging through snow, but I think that was out of desperation to get something.
Yeah.
We don't have that problem. We wake up and it's -20. We just go back to bed.
Yeah. It is good hunting in the snow, though, because you can see the tracks and you can do all that tracking.
Yeah, for sure.
A lot of guys, I think, wait for the snow just to make that easier. But, if you're not totally desperate to go out there and freeze your ass off, then...
Yeah, don't bother. You know what, man? The first season, it was our half season, the first one there. I actually learned a lot about deer patterns by being able to see their tracks in the snow and stuff like that. So for a new guy, it is kind of cool to find out where they are, because I know when we were first going out, we're like, you start to feel like these animals don't even exist, because if you're inexperienced, you're not really sure where they're hanging out. But when you start to see tracks and you know they're fresh, if it was a snowfall from the night before and you're seeing tracks, then you get a pretty good idea of where they're moving. And so I found that pretty interesting anyways.
Yeah, and having faith in yourself. Like, you start doubting, right?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
You have this plan, and then you get out there. It's kind of like fishing, too. You can't see the fish. So you go out there with the plan, and in the first 10 minutes, you end up switching everything.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just got to stick with it, and more experience, you get more confidence in your original plan, and you start doing that. So
yeah,
seeing the tracks, that's
always a good
seeing
sign.
The deer in a way. So.
Yeah, for sure. So we're at 4:45. We were originally lined up to do an interview with Ryan Callahan at 5 o'clock here, but he just emailed us saying it's snowing like a bastard. I think he's probably in Ketchum, Idaho. So we're delayed by a half hour. So we're just going to hang out for a bit until he makes it home in the snow. So I want to give a shout out to a few people. For a while, we've been asking for guys in the States to help us out and leave a rating or review for us in the iTunes store in the States. We've got tons in the Canadian store, and like I said, that it's super helpful for us. We finally got one in the American iTunes store, which is great. So I wanted to give a big shout out to Mountain Hunter 86. Thanks a lot for leaving us a review down there. We're big in Canada, but outside of Canada, we don't have a huge following. So every little bit helps. So thanks to Mountain Hunter 86. And we also had a new one, the latest one in the Canadian iTunes store from Endo1. So thanks to both of you guys for doing that for us. Much appreciated. We got a couple of emails. We haven't gone through emails in a little while here. Aaron, he was one of the first guys to reach out to us, Kelly, like way back when we first started doing this thing. And he just checked in with us. I believe he's a rookie hunter as well. Yeah. So he was writing in to let us know that he got his first buck, a spike in October, and then got a 3-pointer last weekend, or probably a couple weeks ago now. So congrats to Aaron for making that happen this year. It's a good feeling. So yeah, good to hear from some of our original Rookie Hunter listeners. Kelly's trying to read with one eye because he's forgot his monocle at home.
Yeah, Mike has the emails up on his computer here. I'm nearsighted in my right eye, so I have contact. Like if I go bow hunting or something, with the scope, it's not a big deal because you can adjust it, right?
Right.
But with bow hunting, I always have to put a contact in one eye. It's just a pain. Monocle.
Yeah. So we got another email from Josh in Alberta. Do you want to take this one, Cal, or are you?
Well, it's a pretty long email, but overall, Josh was saying that he's a police officer. It sounded like he was injured on the job recently, so he's been doing a lot of listening on podcasts and all that kind of stuff. But I guess he found our podcast and he's finding it helpful. He seems to be in a similar situation, 32 years old, getting into hunting, which he used to do with his grandpa and uncle, but his dad was never into it. So he's from Calgary, right?
Yeah, I know Alberta somewhere for sure.
Yeah, I believe it's Calgary.
Yeah.
But he said if we're ever in town, we could, he'd buy us a beer or coffee, so we might take him up on that.
Take him up on the beer for sure.
Yeah. And Canmore, sorry.
Yeah, I said if you're in the area of Canmore, stop at Grizzly Paw Brewing Company. Great pub, food, and even better beer, which is brewed right there, so that's pretty cool.
Canmore is awesome.
Yeah, 100%. That's a cool town.
Yeah.
He said at the beginning, I think, that he took his Alberta hunter's education just because he's had time off. So it sounds like he's making good use of his time off with an injury. So hopefully he's back on his feet. It was nothing too serious. And I think he said he also left us a review. So thanks, Josh. Appreciate you reaching out. the season's probably close to wrapping up or already wrapped up in Alberta. So you'll be out there next year. So make sure you follow up with us. He mentioned something about an elk hunt in here too with...
Well, he also mentioned something else, which is a good point that we should bring up, is he kind of commended us on, talking about the education piece and the laws and checking the regulations and all that kind of stuff. And he was saying that in his line of work, he sees a lot of people that get into trouble, not because they're trying to get into trouble, but some people just don't double check, and that's not an excuse. So ultimately you end up in the same amount of trouble, right?
Yeah.
So just appreciated that comment, but also just a reminder to everybody out there, like a lot of the activities around hunting and all that are regulated. So make sure you're within the laws for sure.
Yeah, you're carrying a firearm and that, so don't do stupid stuff. And you're not sure, check all the regulations and make sure you're doing the right thing. So yeah, good point. But
what was the you mentioned the elk? He's going on an elk hunt.
Yeah. Going on.
They have, it's the armed forces. He said they have 8 tags to go on at elk hunt.
Yeah.
So
there's a link here. I didn't check it out actually. Oh, it's the elk herd reduction program. That's interesting.
Hey, sign us up.
Yeah, if you need some help. I know a couple of guys.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. It looks like might be something that you can apply for. Let's see who can participate. Hunters ages 12 and up who have received elk herd reduction program tags from the government of Alberta and specific for First Nations bans from hunters or from treaties for, whatever. So that's interesting. I've never heard of this.
You should go to the question, how much blaze orange should I wear? I'm just interested.
Oh. There we go.
Article of clothing on the upper body. See, we don't have to do this in BC.
No, I didn't think that was mandatory in Alberta either, but maybe it is.
That's a whole other discussion too. I don't know if we ever talked about that. Because I know in the States, I believe in Idaho, you have to wear blaze orange. Maybe we could talk to Ryan about it. But
yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to do that in BC, and it seems to be 2 schools of thought. One of them is if you look like a pylon out there, people are going to scope you just to see what's going on.
Right.
Which, I mean, you should never do that anyways. But a lot of those guys think if I'm full camo and nobody can see me out there, then I'm safer. And there's another school of thought that if you can see me out there, then it's safer. So
right.
I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence with that one. I think most people are, because you can argue both ways, right?
Yeah, just as you were pitching that, I was kind of going back and forth in my head.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd rather not wear it, I think.
I kind of like to be stealthy and hidden.
Yeah.
But you look at some of these packs, like Mystery Ranch and Kifaru and all these guys, they're making all brown packs or all foliage or the gray color.
Yeah.
And if you see a solid mass of gray or brown walking through the bush, I mean, it's not far-fetched to think that somebody could make a serious mistake there. Like I think about it once in a while for sure.
You know what? I read a interesting article. I might have tweeted it actually, but it was saying that experienced hunters are more likely to make an error and shoot another hunter.
Right.
And they went into pretty good detail on it. And what it was, I think, I'm probably going to misinterpret this or say it incorrectly, but because they've seen so many animals, their brain will sort of make a connection between lines and sort of trick them into seeing, whatever it might be, a deer or an elk or something like that. Mm-hmm. Because that sort of pattern in nature is like they've seen it so many times that their memory sort of like fills in the blanks. So that even though those lines might not be there, it's like, if you think about a back of a deer, that's kind of what identifies it because it's going parallel rather than vertical with trees and stuff like that. So it was kind of interesting, whereas new hunters are more cautious and really think about things before they go ahead, where experienced guys are quicker to just go for it. So
it's like the theory that accidents are more likely to happen when you're 5 minutes away from home or whatever the distance is.
Mm-hmm.
You're just more comfortable and
Yeah, exactly.
maybe a little more complacent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can
I
see
should try
that.
and dig that one up because it was pretty interesting. Like, it was well done. Like a scientist did it.
It was scientific.
Yeah. So don't take my word for it, but that was the gist of it anyways. Cal, you've been doing some
Can't beat
cooking.
science.
No. Science rules. You've been doing some cooking. What have you been chefing up?
I cooked some Mexican tortilla elk soup.
Nice.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Looked good.
You know what it was, though? I'm not going to take all the credit for this because, you know those tubes of soup you can buy?
Yeah.
From
Like
the,
you just kind of got to add the stuff to it? Or
Yeah,
like
like
the
Yeah, like it's a tube
it's got all the
of
dry ingredients in there.
yeah, all the
basically.
dry ingredients, all the spices and stuff are in the bottom.
Yeah.
And then the beans and stuff are on the top.
Right.
You pinch the bag and you deal with like the top half first and then you do the second
Right.
half. So I just made one of those, but then I dumped in a bunch of elk meat instead of beef.
Nice.
And it was good. I think those things are made in BC and Duncan.
Yeah, we've got one that we haven't used. It's just been sitting there for a bit.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Good thinking. What did I do? I did some. It was kind of like a last minute. I just wanted to make something quick, so I actually grabbed some of our Italian sausages and thawed them out, and then made tacos with them. It was really good.
Nice.
Yeah,
I want to do tacos. I haven't done that yet.
I would rather next time. I think I might take out some of the cuts that we have,
Yeah.
and I prefer to have like chunks of meat in a taco rather than the ground stuff.
Okay.
I don't know. I've made both. Last year with the whitetail doe that we had, I made some tacos with. It was basically like the leftover meat from a roast that I cut up,
Yeah.
kind of into smaller chunks, and then just heated it up again and threw that into tacos, and damn good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had an ugly Christmas sweater party at the house the other day.
Yeah.
And brought out a bunch of appies, including our pepperoni and farmer sausage,
Nice.
and everybody destroyed it.
It was well received.
Oh yeah, like I had to keep bringing more and more.
Did
out.
you?
Yeah,
That's the danger. Bring it out at the end of
Yeah.
the night when people are like going to be leaving soon, so
Yeah.
you don't have to keep feeding everybody your wild game.
yeah, exactly. It's awesome though, like to see.
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah.
And everybody's like it's a good conversation starter too, right?
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
oh, you guys, what do you mean you made this? It's like, well, we harvested it and we butchered.
Yeah.
No, but you butchered it, like the guy butchered it and he made sausage. No, we butchered it. And then we brought it down there. He threw spices and cured it. And
Yeah.
not that we aren't going to try that ourselves too, but
No, we've kind of done it, but in different ways as far as sausages go. But
I just like seeing the reaction of people that didn't grow up or experience that type of food, and they're doing it for the first time. It's kind of,
it is, man.
it's like giving somebody a new record.
just
that
as
they-
rewarding, really, to kind of like watch somebody experience that and it be a experience that you created for them too is kind of cool. Yeah. You talking about it sort of like being a good conversation piece with hunting. I find that a lot now. When you find somebody that is into hunting or interested, man, I can just go off forever, and people seem to be really engaged in the conversation and curious about it. I only really bring it up if I know, like, if somebody, knows I hunt and they ask about it or something like that, or if someone, if it just kind of leads that way. But it's kind of a nice icebreaker with people you might not know that well. And I had a cool experience. I was at my wife's staff party on Saturday, which is the reason why we couldn't come to the ugly sweater party, unfortunately. But so my wife's coworker, her husband has Parkinson's disease, and he's had it for a while now, and he's doing really well with it. But he used to hunt, and I've gotten to know him quite well because Ashley's been there for quite a while now, and we always see each other at these functions and stuff like that. But it was kind of neat to see him start to talk about hunting, because like the effects of Parkinson's disease are visible with him, and especially in his movement and when he talks and stuff like that. But when he started to talk about hunting, it like disappeared, man. You never would have known. It was really fascinating because he was just telling me all these stories. He used to train dogs for duck hunting and just like all the techniques and training them, and a few dogs that were like exceptional at fetching birds and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. It's just kind of neat to see. And I know you said something similar about your grandpa. I can't remember. Does he have dementia or something like that?
Yep.
Yeah.
He's about in his late 80s now.
Yeah.
And the dementia just kicked in hard. But
when he talks about hunting, it's like,
he knows every story for sure.
So it's interesting, man. I don't know if you can just credit to hunting, but obviously those hunting experiences for both of them, for the guy with Parkinson's and your grandpa's, like there's such deep-rooted memories and such fond memories that it almost like wipes out all the other issues that are in front of him. It's fascinating.
Yeah. And I think that we talked a little bit about mounts in the last episode.
Yeah.
And I think that ties in a little bit with that too, right? It's more about the memory and it's for yourself.
Yeah.
It's not for other people. It's just, I don't know. I don't think non-hunters realize the amount of effort and everything that goes into it and the memories that last. Like, I'll remember that elk hunt we had forever.
Forever, right? Man.
So
I still think about it like pretty much every day.
And it's not the fact that we went out there and killed something.
No.
Like, that's the last thing that I think about. It's everything that went into it, the 5 days of rain and just garbage weather we suffered through.
And
the snow, the getting stuck in your truck, the
not seeing any animals, and
just the frustration. And then all of a sudden there's just this moment of
everything changes in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And then it's just pretty much you're elated and doing all the work that's actually fun. And then you get to eat all that meat, which is amazing. So I don't know. That's the kind of stuff that you learn as you get into this.
It's the gift.
I don't know if you want to call it a sport, but in a way it is, because it's an activity.
I was going to say I'd more so classify it as an activity rather than a sport, but it's also an experience. And
yeah, it's kind of sport, but it's also equally work and
travel and adventure and all those things combined. It's interesting. Yeah. Speaking of mounts.
Oh yeah. So we cooked something else this weekend. Mike's 4-point mule deer. Yeah. It's not a monster. You guys can see it on the Instagram, but it's pretty decent. And we thought, well, I mean, you see some of these guys on Instagram, they're posting like the rack is 2 feet high, or I don't know how many of those are actually wild versus number 138 in the farm. Yeah, I don't know. But regardless, boiled that up in your pot. Actually, I have your pot, by the way. How's it looking? It's fine. It looks just the same, yeah. It's not brain stuck. I kind of have a feeling the neighbors were looking out the window going, we're not eating at their place. Yeah. Yeah, no kidding. But it went well. I boiled it in water and OxyClean, 2 rounds with pressure washing in between, about an hour each round. And then on the last boil, I put some peroxide in. I realized that I needed more peroxide. I only had about an inch or maybe an inch of peroxide in that pot. Yeah. But it still works. And put that in, let it come to a boil, and it worked out fine. Nice. It's tough to get all that stuff out of there, but... Is it? Yeah. Yeah. I kind of feel like a dick we were supposed to do it together, and I don't know, I think we kind of mentioned it through text message or something like that. Yeah. That we were going to do it, and then I kind of forgot about it. And we were together. I was here the night before. So I know, we didn't even talk about it, so it was kind of funny. And then I kind of had in the back of my head, like, it's just busy. Maybe we should do it over the Christmas holiday or something like that. And then Ashley and I were out running errands. I left my phone at home, and I get back, and you're like, you coming out or what? Yeah. Like, oh no, I feel like such a douche for not coming. But I was like, I only had 2 half tanks of propane. Yeah. I was using my little camp stove. And I was like, Mike's going to come up. He said he's got like 6 half tanks. Yeah. And then I just started boiling it. And you're like, I don't think I'm going to come. So I was like, damn, I hope I can get through this, which I did. But I almost blew myself up because I don't know how, but the camp stove sprung a leak. And and there's flames shooting out. It's a good thing I was standing there and didn't go inside for 10 minutes.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And then there's flames shooting out the side of the thing. I ran over and just twisted off the tank as fast as I could and hucked it
man.
in the snow.
Nice. That's hilarious.
So,
But yeah, I haven't seen it in person yet, but I'm excited to see it and appreciate you doing it for sure. It looked awesome in those photos. And
yeah, and for folks that haven't gone through that process, that was the first time I went through it. It goes back to just like gutting and field dressing.
Once you get in there, you
got
figure
to
it
just
out.
start, and then you'll figure it out. After the first boil and pressure wash, you know that you have to do another one because there's still stuff there, right?
Right.
So as you go through this process, you figure it out for yourself.
yeah, I think that's, like you said, with everything in this, it's just do a bit of research before, obviously, but you'll figure it out as you go along.
Yeah.
Garrett sent me a photo of our elk there.
Yeah, he
looks awesome.
sent me those pictures
Yeah.
too. Problem with his is it's
too
so
big.
hard to put it anywhere because it's like 4 feet high and
At least
2 feet depth, right?
for sure.
Because it slants backwards.
Yeah, that thing is huge, man. Yeah, I guess he put it in his stairwell, and he said he has to move it because even with it as high as he could get it, when you go down the stairs, you still have to like duck underneath it. So he's got to move
really?
it to the other side of the stairwell or something like that.
Well, my buddy Roger, they get quite a few elk, and he's got one right like, as you open the front door. You look to the right when you take your shoes off, and the elk is right there,
Oh, nice.
just sticking out. So,
The European mounts are cool, man.
yeah, I like them.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one he has is not. I don't think it's a European. It's just the antlers.
Oh, okay.
So maybe a little more room to kind of suck the antlers into the wall a little
Right.
more.
You saw Ovi's elk.
Yeah.
Or he had 2 of them, I think, at the house there. But after he saw Garrett's, he was wishing that he would have done European mounts with his,
Oh, really?
just because it looks so cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they look good.
Yeah.
And if you do it right, and it's not like if you do it wrong, it can look a little bit gross,
Right.
I think. But if you do it right and it's pure white and clean,
Looks
then
really good, yeah.
it looks awesome.
It's kind of neat to see all the detail on the skull and that. And,
Yeah.
another note is that we put it in your deep freeze and it didn't seem to cause any issues.
No,
Other
it was
than
sitting
taking
in
up a
there
bunch of room
for
since
3 months.
The end of September.
Yeah. Yeah, when I took the bag off, so we had it wrapped in a game bag and a grocery bag,
Right.
and I took those off. It looked no different than when I put it in.
Nice.
And when I put it in there, obviously I skinned as much of it, the hide off as I could. I took the eyes out,
Yeah.
lowered like the jaw and everything. Like it was ready to go, but the brain was still inside.
Right.
But yeah, it worked fine.
Nice.
I did have some trouble because it was -10 outside and I was using a little camp stove.
Yeah.
And the skull was frozen, so it took me like 45 minutes just to get the water to boil. But
Made it happen.
yeah,
Nice. Cool. Well, we still got some time before we give Ryan a call. Anything you want to go over? I didn't really have much prepared because I thought we'd be on the phone by this point, but
are you hoping for anything for Christmas, gear wise?
not really, actually.
No,
I don't know. I didn't
Um,
ask for anything gear wise. I pretty much
No.
got it all, man.
I'm always hoping for something pretty crazy.
Nice.
Like Wholesale Sports had the. I'm not expecting this, by the way, but they
Great
had
if you're
the
listening.
Vortex spotting scope, the 65 millimeter, whatever. It was like $1,600. It was on for $1,100 because they have a new Vortex coming out.
Right.
It was the Razor, like the top of the line, $500 off.
Holy shit.
I'm like, we got to think about this. And then I ended up booking this fishing trip. So she said, like, basically that's out the window, which I understand. And I take the fishing trip anyways,
Yeah.
but you can't do everything. But spotting scope,
spotting scopes.
I love to have a spotting scope.
We've got mine. It's okay.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing. Like once I started using yours, I was like, oh man, this is
It's a big
way
advantage.
better.
Yeah.
We were spotting deer 2 or 3 valleys over.
Mm-hmm. And identifying them.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which is hopeless on your binos.
Yeah.
As good as binos are, a spotting scope is a whole other.
The nice thing about mine is it's old. It's still great, but I don't really care about banging that one around too much. You know what I mean? Where
Yeah.
a new one, you got to be pretty careful with them.
Well, you have the, is it the focus button or the zoom?
That's the focus.
The
yeah.
wheel.
It's cracked.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
noticed
just gonna put some epoxy on there. That happened in our last, or when you noticed it, I must have dropped my pack or something on that trip, but whatever. It still just needs a little
Yeah.
glue. She'll be back in action.
Yeah.
You know what else goes a long way is a good tripod. I've got that light one. That's good for backpacking, but it's a little flimsy.
Yeah. There's a lot of, I can't remember the podcast. I think it's Jay Scott Outdoors. He has at least 2 podcasts where the guy just talks about tripods the whole
really?
time for like 2 hours.
I think there's a good backcountry one. It was more about filming in the
Okay.
backcountry, but I think they were talking about tripods in there too.
Yeah. And I can't remember the brand they talked about, but it's not your typical brand. Like I know the Outdoorsman's tripods are awesome, but they're also pretty expensive.
Right.
So maybe we can look into that because I need a tripod too.
Right.
I like to put my binos on them. I've got that bog pod, but the attachments that you need to put on that thing to make it compatible with binos and scopes
Right.
are almost as much as like 1/3 of a new tripod.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So
That's how they get you.
I don't know if anyone's really bridged the gap from spotting scope, bino, tripod to shooting tripod. Bog pod's probably the closest, but like I said, you got to spend a lot of money on the tripod, and then you got to spend a lot of money on all the attachments.
Yeah. Story of our lives.
Yeah,
Buying more gear.
pretty much.
But we're set up pretty good, man. Cal, what's on tap today?
What is on tap? I have a black Christmas ale, and it's Parallel 49.
How is it?
It's awesome.
Yeah?
What do you got?
I've
We're
got
drinking 2 different bottles here.
Yeah, I got this from as a early gift from Cinda Landon, my sister-in-law and our hunting partner there. It's an advent calendar full of beer.
Oh, nice.
So I've been cracking these
So
open
you
every
just
day.
opened all of them at once?
No, I've been waiting one a day and just loading up the fridge. This one is called Top of the Morning. It's the Parallel 49 as well. It's their breakfast stout. Should have saved it for breakfast.
Nice.
They're both strong beers. I think this is a 6.5.
Yep, same here.
So not bad. Actually, I'm not too fond of this one. It's okay. Maybe it's better for breakfast.
Yep, probably.
I'll have to try
Some
that.
eggs, Benny.
Yeah.
No, this one's good.
Nice. I've got another one here too. That if you hear a psst during the interview, it's Red Racer Gingerhead Gingerbread Stout.
Oh, wow.
Bringing out the Christmas
That's
beers.
new. Never tried anything like that.
Actually-
Gingerbread cookies?
I guess so. We got this. Someone gave it to us last year for Christmas, and it's been sitting in the house forever. So I thought today was a good day to.
Last Christmas?
Yeah, it's just been sitting there because it like middle of summer. I'm like, I don't feel like drinking a gingerbread beer.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
here we go. Saved it for a special occasion,
Whoa, that's interesting.
in a good way or a bad way.
I don't know.
Not doesn't sound good.
I'm leaning on the bad way.
Nice.
Ooh, it's just strong. Like it's got a very, it's almost like eating coffee grinds.
Oh, okay. It's 6%.
Yeah.
Doesn't say much else. This one's from Surrey. We still got our rabbit that we need to.
Rabbit ragu.
Oh, there we go.
Punctual.
There he is. Ryan,
Hey, man.
how you doing?
Good. Sorry for the delay there. We're getting hammered with the storm, and things got slowed down dramatically.
Yeah, no
No
problem.
worries.
So yeah,
All right.
Kelly and I are both here.
Hey, Ryan.
You guys hear me okay?
Yeah, you sound good.
All right, sweet.
You can hear us all right, obviously.
Yeah, yes, sir.
Perfect. So where are you? Are you in at home in Ketchum then, or?
Yeah, I'm sitting at my house. Typically, I'd be in the office, but we're finally getting the office cleaned, which is nothing I would want to interrupt.
Perfect.
I have like 6 dogs in there and
Nice.
too
Excellent.
many people. So,
So we follow you on Instagram. Looks like you're doing some renos in your place there.
oh my gosh, yeah, this place is such a dump. Yeah, when I moved in, I gutted the entire thing and kind of lived in construction dust for a year.
Yeah.
And, now it's just like right on that spot where it's just livable enough to where you can be lazy, and things have really, really slowed down. So
Yeah. Slowly chip away. You'll get her done eventually.
that, yes, I'm hoping. So yeah, I got. I'd been gone for so long. I think I've only had, maybe 10 or 12 nights in this place in the last 3 months.
Oh wow.
Wow.
So when I got back this stretch, I got like a couple of, I would say, very non-essential, easy things done to make me feel like I actually did something. But,
Perfect.
yeah.
Good.
Yeah. So where are you guys at?
So we're in Kelowna, which is in the Okanagan region of British Columbia. Are you familiar with the area at all?
A good buddy of mine, the outfitter I work with up there in BC, he spends his winters in Kelowna.
Okay,
Nice.
perfect.
Yeah, I haven't been up, but I've kind of got the general beat from him anyway.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know
Because
if.
it's kind of a banana belt, right? You grow lots of fruit and
Yeah,
don't get
lots of
a ton
orchards,
snow.
lots of wineries. I think, I don't know if wintering here would be a good choice at the moment. It's about minus 18, 20 right now. Kind of got hit with some Arctic air.
Wow.
But it's a beautiful area for sure.
And way more snow than usual, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. We're getting hit hard this year. It's kind of nice though, because we're used to pretty mild winters and not much snow. So it's not a bad thing necessarily. Just got to dress a little warmer.
Yes, I just talked to old codger back in Montana. I'm from Montana originally. He was in Cascade, Montana, 22 below. And said, Ryan, I've been here 67 years and I love the country, but I'm about sick of the wind.
Fair enough. So we originally grew up in the Kootenay region of British Columbia, which is
Oh, sweet.
if you went directly north of Ketchum, I think you'd probably end up right on the tip of the Kootenays there.
Yeah.
So you're probably more familiar with that area of British Columbia, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I used to guide fly fishing like the North Fork of the Flathead.
Oh, wow.
Nice.
And those drainages almost combine.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, us being in BC, that's one of the things we wanted to talk to you about is we sort of gather that you've spent quite a bit of time up here. I don't know if you're up here guiding or what the connection is, but how long you been coming up this way to hunt?
Probably 10 years at this point. The friend of mine, Jeff Lander, his business is called Primitive Outfitting. He, through a friend of mine, I had met him in Alberta.
Okay.
And he's got this mule deer operation in Alberta. It's like one of my all-time favorite places. And then he said, I just got this concession out of Prince George. Do you guys want to come up and check it out in the spring? And, tell me if I'm going crazy or if I made the right call. And so we went up there, and that was like my first BC trip for hunting, spring black bear. But prior to that, we would always try to do some trips up, kind of in that Fernie area, and fish.
Oh, right on.
Yeah.
Not a bad spot. So, is there certain ththings that you like to come to British Columbia specifically for, or just kind of whatever's happening you come up for?
Well, I mean, I love grizzly bears. I grew up with grizzly bears in Montana. There's plenty of folks in Montana that have never even laid eyes on a grizzly bear, but I had the opportunity to play around the Bob Marshall Wilderness bunch, and then later guided on the outskirts of Glacier, and just loved watching those bears. Worked on a research study, which put me in spots that I just wouldn't normally be at that time of year, and so got to sit and watch bears a lot, and then ended up doing kind of like some apprentice guide type hunts for grizzlies, and then ended up going to Jeff's operation there outside of PG, and got to do some actual grizzly hunts, and so really that's always been like my main draw. And I'm amazed the bush in BC is so thick and daunting and rough to get through that I feel like it's just this incredibly accessible yet remote place. There's spots in BC where I've accessed off of roads, sometimes really old roads, that a couple hours of bushwhacking and some elevation gain, and you truly have this feeling of being remote and being in a spot that you just feel like nobody has been in a very long time. Whereas here, I got a lot of spots where I've never seen a person, but there's plenty of person sign around if you look hard enough. So,
yeah, Mike and I had an opportunity to go into Eastern Kootenays for an elk hunt this year, which we were successful on. We got a big 7x7 elk, which was an amazing experience, our first elk. So we'll never forget that one. But you're right, like going out, I think it was only 3 or 4 hours away. But even when you're out there in those valleys, there's a lot of access roads as well. You can kind of get into positions where, like you said, you can get into areas where not a lot of people have the opportunity to go. But if you're willing to head out there,
more often than not, the way I measure my success is more by feeling like I have a place all to myself. Kind of more than anything. So, Rookie Hunter podcast.
Yeah.
I mean, what level of rookie are we talking about?
So, Kelly and I were both we're the same age. We're 31, and this is I guess it's kind of our third season doing this now. So we've been at it for 3 years, and it's the whole point of doing this podcast was we're sort of amazed by how much you can learn in a very short period of time and how much stuff there is to learn. So it's kind of something that we feel like, until we die, we're probably still going to have things that we want to learn about the sport. So that's really what inspired it. And our first season, we got absolutely nothing. The second season, we got a little white-tailed doe. And this year, we've done, really well. We've kind of exceeded what we ever thought we would do in a year. So we have 2 muley bucks, a white-tailed doe, and then that 7x7 bull elk that we got in the Kootenays there. So we've come a long way.
Sweet.
Yeah, so it feels good, and that's the cool thing about podcasting is that we can reach out to guys like yourself, and a lot of our listeners are also guys who are sort of in the same position as we are as far as age and getting into this kind of late in the game and not necessarily having a mentor or anything to follow. So it's been it's a cool experience, and it's nice to know that we're helping guys through this whole process too that are doing it alone.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about, well, one, you guys are absolutely correct. Like, there is no, the only people that I ever see be like, oh yeah, I mastered hunting, are the guys that got really lucky their first couple of years, killed giant stuff by anybody's standard. About their third or fourth year, it got really hard and reality set in.
Right.
And they kind of went, you know what? I already got the best stuff you can get, so I kind of mastered this, and I'm going to move on to something else. Like, you always, any day in the woods, you're learning, you're at the very least, adding a lot of knowledge through experience onto, your Rolodex in your brain, I guess. And that to me is, the best part. It's something I will certainly never master. I mean, I saw stuff this year that were, I was like, well, never thought that would happen.
Yeah, we were going to save this question for the end of the show, but with that in mind, is there areas of hunting that you want to spend more time in, something you want to learn about in particular? Or?
It depends on how good you want to get at something.
Right.
Variety I love. And, I had some opportunities where some buddies are like, hey, where do you want to go next year? Anything you want to do. Pick a hunt out, we'll go do it. Mm-hmm. And, I'm like, I've always kind of wondered about this. And it's, it could be something where, I would pick a Sika deer hunt in Maryland because it's something that I've always read about and wondered about. And it's a very obscure thing, but it sounds like a real adventure, as opposed to, Yukon Territory Dall sheep, pretty commercialized at this point. There's definitely some adventure to be had for sure, but I kind of feel like I know what the writing's going to be on the wall on that hunt. So variety's fantastic, but if you really want to get good at something, I used to fancy myself as a very good duck and goose caller. And now I don't have dogs anymore, so I don't waterfowl hunt a ton. And I went out duck and goose hunting here yesterday in southern Idaho, and I was like, "Ooh, boy, I gotta work on my calling quite a bit because I've just been off of it." So it's all this stuff is nothing. You can't just put it on the shelf and walk away and be like, oh, yeah, got that handled.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something Mike and I haven't really got into yet is the waterfowl, but something we want to get into, at least try. We're picking off grouse on the side of our hunts for sure.
Yes.
The waterfowl thing, and we'd like to try that. We'll probably have to go to the Kootenays for that one too, Creston area.
Oh, it's great stuff. But yeah, I feel like I'm kind of in the minority. I don't have a list bucket list hunts. On the First Light side of things, we're growing fast and things are great, but means everybody's super busy. Yep. And so my goal this year was to just get back and hunt with a buddy of mine that I always used to hunt with in Montana. And we haven't been able to hunt together very much. And he's got a baby coming, so that's going to be the I can't say for certain, but I've seen it happen enough to where I feel like it's probably going to be the end of his hunting career for a while.
For a while, yeah.
Yeah. So, that was like, that's what I wanted to do this year more than anything, was to get back and make sure that we got to hunt together. So,
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. Sometimes it's just going out with your buddies and making those memories. And that's the other reason Mike and I got into this, is the camaraderie. And I mean, we've talked about this in other episodes, but my father-in-law is a lifelong hunter. So I married his daughter, and we've known each other for 12, 15 years. Never mentioned hunting until Mike and I started getting into this, and the switch just flicked, right? So from not mentioning it and then getting interested in it and all of a sudden being obsessed with it, I totally understand why people hunt and why they get so into it. You can't really be in the middle. You're either into it or you're not, is what I found, which is kind of a cool thing about the sport, or activity, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I agree. It's something we talk about as like a business, from a business perspective and from just a hunting perspective. There's a huge barrier to entry in hunting. That's found your guys' podcast interesting, because, it's like, if you don't have that traditional, dad took me out, my uncle took me out,
Mm-hmm.
Especially, 31 years old.
Yeah, it's tough.
It's tough. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, well, I'm a man. Don't want to ask another dude what
Yeah.
to do.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with, at a minimum, very sharp sticks. So safety is always an issue, and you got to ask a lot of questions, and so it's tough to find those folks that you feel comfortable asking a bunch of questions, and
Mm-hmm.
and then we talk about the longevity, right? And I know lots of guys that have hunted it at some point and put it away, and some folks that did that and came back to it and are hunting strong now. And I know, lots of guys that have been hunting for 60, 70 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something I'm always fascinated with, is kind of like the psyche of, like, what keeps you going? How is this still interesting? And I think it's one of the few things out there where, if you've been doing it for 30 years, that there's something that could be brand new on the very next hunt,
Yeah, I feel like you really have to love the outdoors and just observing. Like, you got to love being out there and the exercise and the activity of it. I find that you get put in positions where you never would be. Like, if you're on a mountain bike trip or hiking trip, you're kind of there when nature knows you're there. Whereas when you're hunting, it's a bit of a different perspective. You might be there where nothing really knows you're there. Most of the time they do know, but it's a bit of a different feel. You're there different times of year, different times of the day, and you just get to see things that most people don't. So that was the other thing Mike and I really started to appreciate about the hunting world.
Oh, absolutely, man. I mean, that's a great point. That's something I've told, lots of folks in the past, lots of ex-girlfriends who don't understand what you're doing. It's like there is. I've seen so many amazing places, so many amazing, animal interactions, weird acts of nature. I've been there for the tree falling in the forest, and there is no possible way my 2 feet would have been on that spot on the planet had it not been for hunting. And there's no possible way I would have seen those interactions, if I was on my mountain bike and I liked to mountain bike, or if I was skiing and I like to ski, or, any other sort of recreation, because there's some uniformity to a lot of those other things. And hunting is, you're following a little bit more free will. And
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and like I say, Kelly and I have only been doing this for the 3 years, and the amount of things that we've witnessed outdoors, and the things we've seen animals do that we've never seen before, it's incredible. So I can only imagine for somebody like yourself who's been doing it as long as you have, the stuff that you've been able to see over that long of a period. But every time you see something like that, you consider yourself lucky to be out there. And in most cases, if you weren't hunting, you'd probably be at home sleeping or nowhere near the outdoors. So no matter what happens when you're out there, you always feel like you're sort of coming back successful in some way, because there's usually something out there that draws you back, even if you don't come home with an animal.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, oftentimes the defeats are what breed obsession, right?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Oh man, if only I would have done this. Next year's going to be different, or next weekend's going to be different.
Yeah. For
And I mean, that's something that does not change.
Yeah.
Like it's.
I find that with fly fishing too. We're trying to get into this we have a lot of still. I'm kind of going off topic here, but stillwater
fly fishing is great.
The stillwater fly fishing near Kamloops. So we're pretty close to Kamloops, but we have a lot of opportunity there, like protein-filled lakes and little shrimp and everything.
Yeah, giant.
Big trout, chironomids.
Yeah.
So getting into that, and we mentioned.
So you're trying to fish like the 17-foot long leaders and.
Yeah, and like you go out there with this plan, and you can't see the fish, so you get out there and you throw this big leader out. You have trouble casting it, and you get it out there, and it's just. I don't know. We were just talking about this. You have to have confidence in your plan, and until you get experience, sometimes you switch things out a little too quickly, I find. But I don't know exactly where I was going.
There's the flip side of that, right? It's like you do have to have confidence, and it's like you can't be lazy either.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't be like, I should probably change this up, but
yeah, I'm just gonna hang on to it all day.
Right. You got to change 2 bugs. You got to probably, add some more tippet. I got to put on a couple more split shot, whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, I find that goes back into hunting too. Like you got to have somewhat of a plan going into it, and hopefully you're confident to stick it out and switch when you need to. But yeah, it takes some time. Eventually, I think Mike and I have started learning that we look on Google Earth, we kind of come up with a plan, and we're a little more confident in following through with it. And we've had some good success this year in doing that, but it takes time.
Yeah, and planning is a super fun off-season activity or overnight activity, and it's great. And the thing is, you're dealing with a bunch of wild animals in a wild place, and you got to be willing to change that plan, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
that I get sometimes I do get a little frustrated when it's like the planning phase gets in danger of infringing on huntable daylight hours.
Right.
With my friends. I can watch the clock tick, and the planning phase has evolved from like beyond getting out of the boat or the truck and going up the ridge line to where it's like, yes, and then we're going to come around here, and that's where the animals are going to be. And then we're going to go, I always have to kind of be like, whoa. Let's just say we all head up the ridge, and then I'll see you guys at dark.
Yeah, keep it open.
Yeah. Yeah, way too many variables out there.
Yeah, definitely. So Ryan, how was your season this year, and where have you been?
Oh man, great season. I started out. We started out. Scott Robinson and Kent Carew, through the 2 founders of First Light.
Right.
And we've been buddies for a long time, and kind of like, they have their opening day plan. It's kind of like it's their ritual. Like they go up, camp at this spot overnight, have some beers, wake up and hunt these 2 drainages, and very well known. I always kind of stay out of there, and sometimes I go up and camp out with them and hang out, and sometimes I don't. I went up there this year, and yes, they had this just awesome opening morning, and archery elk starts really early here. And this is 30 minutes from the office. And had a cow moose walk through camp in the middle of the night. She almost had to like step over the top of my sleeping pad to walk her trail. Nice. And then Kent and I took off up one valley, and Scott and this buddy of ours, Beach, headed up the other, and Kent and I were late, which is our custom, but less than 2 minutes up the trail, almost within sight of the vehicle, there's a 6-point bull elk just hanging out and sitting in this avalanche chute, and immediately screwed it up, and Scott shot a bull in the other valley, and we spent the rest of the day packing that thing out. And so that was a good kickoff to archery elk season. And,
yeah, no kidding.
Nice.
I got a little bull about 5 days later. And that, I mean, always super fun, a young bull, and tastes great. And
yeah, they do taste better, eh?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, they do. I ended up getting a bull with a buddy of mine in Montana the second to last week rifle season. So, basically August versus the end of November. And I was amazed at how poor of condition that bull was in. Like, just the comparison between probably like the 3-year-old bull versus the, maybe 6-year-old bull was just unbelievable.
And that was after the rut?
Yeah. And so that's always the theory, right? Is like they run really, really hard during the rut, and then they spend the rest of the time trying to recuperate and get ready for winter. It's kind of one of those things. Like I really like to do like a full forensic on everything, and really just check everything out. And it's part of the fun for me. And this bull was, had pretty much zero fat. Had a little bit of fat, like kind of in its hip pockets, but it was just like tannin yellow, sinewy fat. His face was kind of busted up, like it did a bunch of fighting, and was just disheveled looking, right? And typically archery season, you see them and they might have some mud on them or something, but they're pretty fat, and
right.
They're all spruced up for the prom, I guess.
Well, that brings up an interesting question from a rookie perspective. So are you like looking at these animals and kind of doing a physical in terms of how healthy they are before you're taking the meat? Is that crossing your mind, or is it more of just you're interested to see, at what stage in the annual life cycle this thing is in?
Most of the time, because, with my bow, that's really like my grocery getting season. Is that, couple weeks of September. We started a little earlier in Idaho, but that's kind of my deal. It's like get an elk in the freezer as soon as possible, and then I can just kind of have fun and check things out. And so, I truly look at that as groceries. So if I'm not a big fan of passing anything up with my bow, but if something doesn't look quite right, or I can come up with an excuse, but if there's a big fat cow standing there, it is going to die. Like,
Fair enough.
You know, I'm just not going to wait.
Yeah.
And then once I have that in the freezer, then I get very, very picky and choosy. I mean, the only reason I shot the bull in November was because his buddy Kyler, the whole deal was he got first option on elk. And we're hiking up the opposite side of the valley, and he looks to the opposite side of the valley, and he's like, hey, there's an elk over there. I just saw him. And I was ahead of him because I was trying to get up and set camp. And I was like, okay, well, hopefully he's there tomorrow, and we can go kill him. He's like, no, we got to go right now. He's like, we will never make it over there.
Yeah.
It was 4:45. It was going to be dark at 5:25, and it was a very big effort to get across. Very steep drainage. He's like, but I said, we already established, like, if there's the whole deal was I missed this huge mule deer the week prior, and I was going back in for revenge.
Right.
And Kyler was going back in for an elk, and so he got first dibs on elk, I got first dibs on deer, and that was the plan. And I was like, okay, it's your call, man. You want an elk? If you want to go, I'll go. He's like, yep, we can do it. Just got to, it's 5 minutes down this ridge, and then we'll hit the bottom and cross the creek and go up the other side, and it'll take us 15 minutes to get up there, and then we can shoot. Well, by the time I got to a spot where you could actually shoot the elk, I was all by myself, and Kyler hadn't made it up there, and I was staring at this elk and was kind of feeling bad about the fact that Kyler wasn't there, and he was supposed to shoot the thing, but at the same time, I basically just like hacked a lung out coming up the mountain trying to get to where I needed to be, and that was the end of that poor elk, I guess.
Yeah, you put in all the effort and the opportunities there at that point. You kind of don't have too much of a choice, but.
Oh yeah, it was like 5 minutes to dark, and it was just freezing freaking cold. You got your entire camp on your back, and
yeah.
I had stopped at the creek and filled up, this 6-liter dromedary for camp water, and it was just a heavy deal and lots of blow down timber, and was trying to find a camp spot where we wouldn't get killed from dead trees falling down in the wind.
Yeah.
A lot of things converged to make me kill that elk, but.
Yeah, fair enough. So what other areas did you get into this year?
I made it up and tagged along on a buddy's grizz hunt there in Prince George.
Yeah.
And at the end of that hunt, the weather came in, really socked everything in, so we couldn't chase bears in the high country, and ended up chasing moose, and the moose were in kind of peak rut. And,
nice.
Got a big bull moose. It is big moose. It's a 51-inch wide bull moose, and
nice.
It's super cool. It was just kind of like this odd thing, though. I was like, well, shoot, we can't hunt bears. Why don't you hunt moose?
Yeah,
so it was kind of.
We're looking for an opportunity to hunt moose.
Right.
Yeah.
Well,
LEH, we haven't been successful in the last 3 years, but we could keep trying.
Keep trying. Yeah. Eventually, we got to get something.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they are very, very fun to call to. Not, I wouldn't say like the most. I wouldn't say you need to be like super, super skilled to call moose.
That's good to know. The moose is kind of like the next thing on our list, if we have a list, I guess. It's, we want to keep applying for this LEH, and hopefully it'll happen at some point. Do you have any tips or advice for us getting into moose hunting, or is this one of those things you just got to get out there and experience for yourself?
Man, I know most folks that I know up in BC, they're just cruising roads the whole time. I mean, I've certainly had a lot more success getting away from the road systems.
Right.
But, obviously it equates to a lot more effort getting those things out of the bush.
Yeah, for sure. Exactly. And that's a big animal, so that's a lot of work.
Yeah. Enough. I've been on top of several of them, and there hasn't been a single one that I haven't walked up there and been like, oh my God, how are we going to do this? Mm-hmm. Like you kind of forget year to year how truly huge those animals are. And I get super OCD about the meat, and I cannot leave anything behind. And it is just a gargantuan effort.
I bet.
Yeah, the elk that we got, that was a huge amount of work, but we only had to pack the thing out about a kilometer. It was rough terrain, but we also had 4 guys there, so it wasn't so bad.
Awesome.
So, I can't imagine getting way into the backcountry, taking down a moose, and then having to figure out things from that point on. Would be interesting. So.
Well, the bull that we ended up getting there in Montana, we were about 4.5 miles in. And, because of the weather, how cold it was, it's very manageable if you, can kind of sit back, look at your situation, and hopefully the weather is in your favor. And, so we shot that bull that night. Like I said, we had camp on our back. Ended up shooting the bull at 70 yards. So that really the only way I would shoot at, 5 minutes to sundown, because it just makes everything so miserable if you feel like you made a questionable shot or something, right?
Definitely, yeah.
Waiting it out in the dark, no fun. So got over to that bull, took a few pictures, peeled off all the quarters. We left the hide on because we wanted things to get cold but not frozen. So we peeled the quarters off, laid them in the snow, hide on the snow, hung up the back straps, the tenderloins, kind of sacked up the burger meat, and that was it for that night. And then made camp, got up the next morning, hunted mule deer the next morning. My buddy Kyler took off on a big loop, and I went back to the bull, boned everything out, bagged it up, packed it down to this north-facing slope creek, hung all the meat up, and then went back up the mountain, hunted that evening. Mm-hmm. And then, Kyler showed up at dark, and then we packed up the whole camp the next morning, divvied up camp between him and I. I had the whole camp, or the majority of the camp, and the head and the antlers. Mm-hmm. And then we fully hunted, the 3/4 of the day out with camp on our backs, dropped camp, and then came in and got all the, half an elk apiece out in one trip. So
lots of work.
Yeah.
yes,
I think that's one of the things that some people who, don't hunt don't realize the amount of work that goes into something like that. And it's crazy just to think of all that, for sure.
it is, but
Definitely.
at the same time, it's just hard work. Like it's not anything other than that. It's like you put your nose to the grindstone, you're going to make it happen.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. And it's
there's
rewarding.
no-
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely it is. And, every time you're cooking that stuff at home, you know what went into it, and you took care of the meat the whole way through and did things the way you wanted to do it. And,
Exactly.
and all it takes is hard work, man. So
For sure. I think we're talking about moose a little bit. Mike and I can't resist asking about the, for our listeners, you're a guest on the Meat Eater show once in a while. At one point, Steve Rinella gets almost ran over by a moose.
that's
I think you were on that episode. I wonder if you have any tips for rookie hunters in terms of that situation.
Good buddy of mine, guy I respect a lot, and he's got a hell of a lot more days in a tent than I do. This dude, Billy Moles, really good guy.
Mm-hmm.
He called me. He saw that show, which is kind of a miracle because the dude's never in front of a TV. But he saw that show like as soon as it came out. He called me the day after, and he's just like, yeah. Sometimes stuff like that happens. And we all know better, but you got to make the best decision you can at the moment it happens.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's the right decision, and sometimes it's the wrong decision. But, obviously, in that instance, Steve made the wrong decision, as it turned out.
Mm-hmm.
But if you put me in the exact same spot right now, I can't tell you that I would make a different decision.
Right.
Yeah, I believe his gun also misfired too, so there's some kind of bad luck happening there too.
Yeah, there's many adrenaline-filled moments and stuff.
Yeah. Well, it makes for good TV. Glad everything worked out, but wow, that was intense.
Yeah, and definitely some peaks and valleys as the guide in that situation. Like moose gets up and runs away, and I'm like, boy, there's 1,000 pounds of meat running the opposite direction that we got to pack all the way back here.
Yeah.
Hopefully it doesn't go very far.
Yeah.
Steve's reaction was, I guarantee, and honestly, he and I have never even talked about it. Like, it's almost pointless talking about it, right? It's like, well, that's what happened.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you can't change it.
Yeah.
And then on the other hand, it's probably a good thing that it was captured, because it is a good thing for other people to see that is something that could happen. So, it might enter other people's minds when they're out there. So, it's not all bad things, really.
And, I know the same thing was happening in Steve's mind. He's like, 1,000 pounds of meat running the opposite direction.
Mm-hmm.
Bad.
Yeah.
And you always want to make like a quick kill.
Yeah.
And that bull was dead on his feet.
Mm-hmm.
And he had no idea. It's like the no brain, no pain type of thing. And so he, his instinct was to take off after that animal and stop it as quick as possible and make it dead. And I, saw what Steve was doing, so I went on a different approach in case the bull came out my direction, which eventually it did. But yeah, I mean, it'd be very, very hard to convince me that things would work out a different way if you reset things and put us in the exact same situation.
Right.
Yeah, it makes me like going back to our elk this year. We actually had a couple shots on it, and it ended up moving. And
this is rifle.
Yeah, rifle.
And it during the? Because I know folks that go like hunt the Kootenays quite often, and it seems like it's always during the rut. So they're bugling, and are you guys calling and stuff too?
No, this was a kind of a needle in the haystack hunt. It was mid-October.
Okay.
We weren't bugling. We were actually onto some mule deer. Mike and I were in one cut. They were in another burn, and they walked up on this thing that was just sitting there. They took a couple shots. The elk ended up running away a little bit, and I believe Garrett was doing the Last of the Mohicans run through the burn to try to, same thing as Steve. You don't want, there's a lot of steep country there, and you don't want that thing going into an area where you can't retrieve it, or it's going to make your life hell, or you're going to spoil meat and get
or you're going to forfeit it to a grizzly bear.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we were kind of in a similar situation. It just happened to work out where Garrett got close enough and finished the job. But the more I think about it, that thing could have got up right on the spot and charged him too. So
yeah, and the other thing is, when you're dealing with those bigger animals, they're just so much stronger, and it's surprising what it takes to take one of those down sometimes. So
strong.
Yeah, you just never know.
No, it is unbelievable. Yeah. They're incredibly tough. So what was the shot situation?
Well, there's a little bit of story behind this. We checked our radios ahead of time before we split up. Kevin said, yeah, my radio's good. I said, okay, we'll keep these two on. Mike and I went down to a lower cut. We heard 2 shots go off, and then 2 more go off after that. And we're in grizzly bear country. So given the amount of shots, we thought, oh man, I hope this isn't a defensive situation or something like that. Tried the radios. We didn't hear nothing. It took an hour and a half to get the radio call back from those guys. It turned out that Kevin's radio died right after they left, and Garrett had to run back to the truck. By the time they got back to the truck, it was an hour and a half later, and they radioed in and told us the news. But what we heard was that the elk was about 350 yards away. Garrett had a stump as a rest. He missed the first couple shots, and then he ended up hitting it with the next 2. Do you remember where he hit it?
I don't recall exactly where he hit it. It was a good shot. Like, I think you'd expect it to have been a lethal shot, but the thing got up and took off, so they had to run down there, find the thing, and it had bedded down, and luckily they were able to creep up on it, and I think you just put one more shot into
upper
it.
Neck, like up below the skull there. But I remember there was one shot through the ribs. There was a hole in the ribs. Yeah. There was also one other shot that was kind of up back at the end of the back strap. Fortunately, it didn't taint any of the leg or back strap. So I'm not sure how that happens.
We got
exactly.
lucky, yeah. So I think with one of those first shots, I think he might have grazed the thing and then got another one in there. But so it's hard to say exactly what happened, but yeah, it was an interesting situation, anyways.
Yeah, it just another example of you never know exactly what's going to happen in the next 30 seconds sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. And your recollection immediately following the shot. Mm-hmm. Man, I mean, the presence of mind it takes to really slow things down and actually know what you saw.
Exactly.
Can be very, very hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Ryan, I'm not sure how much time you've got, but before we kind of wrap things up, we want to talk about First Light with you. So what exactly is your role with First Light?
Well, oh man, it's kind of been everything, and
because you've been around for pretty much since the beginning, have you not?
Yeah, so Kenton is the dude who kind of like got fascinated, obsessed with the idea of doing merino wool and putting camouflage patterns on it. And,
right.
And he's the first dude ever to figure out how to put like intricate patterns on merino wool.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It is. And he, it would take hours and several beers for him to ever tell you that. Because he just would never do it.
Yeah.
And so he had this awesome concept, and then he talked to his buddy Scott, and who's definitely a little more business oriented,
right?
And Scott was like, "Yeah, man, this sounds sound," and they kind of took the concept from there, and I met those guys when I was working with the dude who owns ASAT Camouflage.
No, okay.
And at the time, ASAT was pushing pretty hard, and ASAT is the first camouflage pattern that First Light started with. And so that's how I met the guys, and then I kind of help them out and did a lot of product testing and a lot of like, hey, in the guide community, these are kind of like some core items that you gotta have. And then eventually they offered me a job, and I was, definitely living the seasonal lifestyle of freedom, and it's
right.
like, oh, geez, I don't know. Get chained to a desk or something.
Yeah.
And came down, and I think my first title was what was it? It was marketing, sales, and media.
Oh, nice.
So basically everything.
Yeah, pretty much.
Everything you could do. And it was three guys sitting above a garage, and nobody really talking to each other because there was just too much to do. And then once we got some more people hired on, it was purely marketing, and we got some more folks hired on, and smarter folks than I am, and so now I kind of transitioned into this sweet spot where I get to do public relations for the company, and I work with lots of conservation groups. So my title's the Director of Conservation and Public Relations.
Nice. That's one of the, I've done some research on the company, and it sounds like you guys do a lot of great things. It also sounds like a great company to work for, but your connection and your support of, conservation is it's not something you see in a lot of companies. So it's cool to see that you guys are that dedicated to it.
Well, we're working on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's something that we've certainly always said from the beginning is all these companies compete
right
for, best product design, coolest stuff.
Yeah.
Like we really need to make the conservation thing another thing that we're going to compete on.
Right.
Because there's no excuse to not be doing as much as you can.
Yeah, for sure.
One interesting statistic out there is, we talk a lot about public lands, right?
Right.
There's a couple of major polls that go around, but 72% of hunters in the U.S. that hunt in the West hunt exclusively on public land.
Mm-hmm.
Don't have access to private ground. And that is something that, our company was founded on public ground. Like,
Right.
we live in this goofy little ski town where everybody lives in the valley, and everything up from the valley floor is public. And it's like, that's your only way to go is public land. That's the only opportunity you have.
Right.
And so public land's just kind of been like a core thing for us. 'Cause it's like, well, how the hell else would you be able to go out and hunt?
Mhm.
Nobody owns a big ranch. Nobody knows some timber baron that we could go hunt with. So that's something that we've really taken a stance on. And then we learned, once we got a little bit smarter, that, well, it turns out like the vast majority of our customer base hunts on public land. So some things have definitely gone hand in hand, but it's always just been very goofy to us to not try to do something to improve what we enjoy.
Right.
And there's plenty of things we get frustrated with, which is like, lack of access someplace, or too much trash at certain put-ins or takeouts, and we've always tried to be real active with that. And honestly, before he even showed up, Kenton and Scott were the type of guys that would go and do volunteer trail days for mountain biking and things like that. So it is very cool that way. We get to do a lot of good stuff, but it all supports what we all do,
Yeah. That's
Even
awesome.
if you crazy foreigners wanted to come down here, you could enjoy all of it. So
Yeah.
Well, I would love to, yeah. And one of the things I read too is that First Light encourages their employees to take time off during the hunting season and that. So it just seems like you guys got your values in the right spot and that. So pretty cool.
well, it's double-edged, right? It's like, we're going to sell you more stuff if we know how the stuff performs.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, there's an evil side to it where we're going to sell you more stuff.
Right.
Yeah, but no, it's a great office, and it is incredibly active. I would say bizarrely active, and it's great. I would firmly say we spend more time in the stuff that we make than anybody else, almost by default of geographical location.
Right.
Now it's full-blown ski season, right? It's
Right.
like waterfowl and skiing. And
Yeah. That's awesome.
Kenton will tell you a good day is going to hunt ducks or going to ski, but a great day is going to hunt ducks and then skiing in the afternoon.
Yeah.
The best of both worlds.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, totally. You got any products you guys are working on that you're excited about, or anything that's coming out?
Oh man, when does this podcast release?
Well, we'll have it out in the
In
next
a week
couple
or
days.
so?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, I am super excited about a couple of pieces. But I can't tell you about it.
We have to wait.
We'll have to
Yes, you have to wait. So, the beautiful part about the situation that we have is, and something that I've told everybody is, we make products for us, and which is a good thing because everybody's outside a ton, and we get our products made for us about a year ahead of when we get them on the market, if everything goes well. And there's definitely been a couple of products that have taken 2 years to get on the market,
Right.
or never saw the light of day. because they just didn't work in the field. But we've all been running around and some great stuff for 2017, and we'll be releasing most of that stuff to the public in January. Gosh, what do we have that's like non-conflicting?
No pressure.
This one's kind of been released. We have this jacket called the Uncompagre jacket.
Yeah, is that the puffy?
Yeah, puffy jacket. It's a synthetic fill, lightweight jacket.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like this "do not leave home without it" piece.
Yep.
And we made a companion piece to that for something below your belt line that will be another "do not leave home without it" piece.
Good to know.
And
Nice.
for me, I get, for like backcountry use, I get to, I leave extra base layers behind because I have something that's going to knock out a couple of jobs. In the evening, bring a lighter weight back or a sleeping bag or a lighter weight sleeping pad, and leave some long johns behind because I got some real puffy lightweight overpants that fill many jobs,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have to strip down to my birthday suit to take my long handles off on hiking. So.
Yeah, you don't have to rely mainly on the merino base layer.
Yes, I know. I got to tell you, like, merino boxer shorts are the best things that have ever happened to me because I do a lot of traveling and my turnarounds are very short. So
Yeah.
you can get a couple of days extra use out of a pair of boxer shorts. It is very nice, very convenient.
Yeah, that's something I was thinking I needed to invest in after our Kootenai trip there for sure. So
Yeah.
good to know.
Yes.
Well, Ryan, we've taken an hour of your time already. We'd love to have you back at some point. Before we let you go, is there anything else you want to add?
Well, no, man. I just kind of feel like a jackass. I haven't asked you guys any questions. So I guess that's the point of being a guest. But
That's all right. We've got a whole bunch of podcasts, so if you're that interested, you can always go back and
all right.
have a listen. But yeah, man, you're welcome back anytime. And again, we appreciate you coming on here and giving us your time. And if you're ever up this way, we might have to hire you to take us out on a hunt and teach us some stuff up here. So we'll keep in touch.
Or, we can just grab a couple of casual beers and you guys can show me some spots. And,
We could do that
for
too.
sure.
Yeah.
and
If you're in Kelowna, give us a shout.
absolutely will do.
Yeah. Well, appreciate it.
I do too. Thank you guys very much.
Yeah, no problem. Take care, Ryan. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Cool. There it is. That was great. We went a little longer than I thought. We didn't get to cover all the notes, but
Yeah, I would like to see if we can get him on at some other point. Like, it obviously not right away, but next year, maybe after our other season, we can touch base with him again.
for sure.
But yeah, great guy, personable. You can just tell he's into hunting and
Yeah, for sure.
loves what he does. So it's good to talk to people like that.
Definitely.
Hope everybody enjoyed the conversation.
Yeah, us too. So, again, can't say it enough. Big thanks to Ryan for giving us his time. And looking forward to doing more interviews like this. I think this is just the first of many great guests. So stay tuned, and thank you to everybody who continues to download the podcast. And I don't think I can talk anymore. We've been going at it for a while here. So
Yeah, that's it. Cheers.
all right, cheers, guys.